Community.
Would you like me to turn the screen over to you?
No. I've got like 10 things going on at once.
Okay. I'll leave it on my screen then.
So just to go into the. Okay, so what I was going to say, John, was that can you go into the Vic Community's homepage? I don't know.
Sure. I have, let me see, I'll bring this one up here. Here we are on the homepage.
Okay. So one thing I was going to say, if you go down to the membership,
yes,
we talked about this before with the Google Calendar invite. Probably be worth updating the Google Calendar invite. I think Sam Shea is listed on the Google Calendar invite. You might want to remove him. And I think John Ice is still listed on the Google Calendar invite. You might want to remove him.
Got it.
The only reason I'm bringing that up is just to say that you know, we talked about before, if we can have people sort of at least respond beforehand to give us an indication of the Google Calendar of their participation. I find with a standing invite, it's not, you know, people have a harder time remembering to do that. Maybe it's worth sending out a reminder to that invite when you also send out, or no, rather, you know, send it out like a week beforehand. Let us know if you're going to attend or not. And I think there's a way through Google Calendar, just send out the invite again.
Yep. Yeah, there's I think you can email.
So that might be something worthwhile to do, just because it's hard to remember. You know, we've told people to respond, but I understand it's hard to remember to do that, especially to a standing invite like what we have. Then we can take that and, you know, again, see what the appropriate quorum is, what we want to do, etc., with participation and stuff like that.
I will gladly do that.
Okay, perfect. Did anybody else join maybe while I was talking?
I don't think so. I think we're still 2 National Weather Service participants and 3 total line offices represented.
Okay. You don't happen to have the ability to record this, do you?
We're recording. Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. Have you been posting the recordings as well on the
Absolutely. There, it's the sort of the second topical area on the minutes, right below the agenda.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So,
just show folks. So here's the agenda, and then the meeting recording.
The recording. Okay, perfect. So even if we don't have a quorum, we'll again make haste. I have a duplicate meeting at 1:30 today. And we'll try to really make that December 12th meeting, you know, highly participated. So, you know, we'll send out an invite beforehand, and hopefully people will be able to participate, because that's going to be probably our December meeting, I would say.
Right.
Just looking at the calendar, the 26th is not a holiday, but I can't imagine that there will be many people around. Or yeah, the 26th would be our second meeting in December.
Mm-hmm.
That's the case. So I can't imagine many people will be around for that.
Correct.
So we might sort of be taking a little bit of a hiatus the end of December, the holiday hiatus, we'll call it.
It does happen.
Yes, because AMS annual meeting is that first week of, or that second week of January too, so that might kill that as well. So we might be taking a little hiatus, so hopefully that December meeting we can really work on participation. Okay.
Awesome.
So we don't have the full quorum, but we can go through a couple of things, and since we're recording, we can send that out. And maybe first we'll go to Ken and then Steve just to give their updates. So I'd like to turn over to Ken.
Okay, I don't have a lot of updates today, given the partial holiday last week and our emphasis on DXP migration. We did make some slight changes to the landing page within VLCS, and John forwarded, I believe, an email regarding that. There are still there's one change outstanding in development that has not been made in production, and it would be good to get Vit's feedback on that. So specifically, when we're talking about it, what we've done is we've changed the layouts slightly. We modified the welcome to the VLab portlet on the right, and we had our look and feel expert apply her magic to that, so I think it's much better than it used to be. She also did that on the quick access portlet too. In development, you see on the left that there's a news, and that's an attempt to make the page more dynamic. So as communities and projects and other news events occur, those would show up within that portlet. So that's, that would be an effort for us to, make things, like I said, more dynamic, more interesting. If people wanted to jump to a community, you can use the My Communities portlet or drop down in the upper right, or you can just click on the Communities tab, which is the second one over. So anyway, if you guys have an opinion on that, in terms of it's basically, some people I think aren't going to like it. Some people will like it with regard to removing of the My Communities. It's somewhat static, but it's convenient. So anyway, that's there. Other issues. So John, if you want to go back to those vid issues.
And before you go off,
sure.
Move off that. Mm-hmm. I wasn't seeing, I see the news portlet, but what other change was made? I didn't really see a difference.
So the changes are on the right-hand side. You'll see the welcome. That's significantly different in terms of look and feel. Functionally, it's pretty much the same. And then also the VLab outage notifications. We wanted to put that in a more prominent location so that people, I don't know if they're going to read it or not, but at least it's there on the landing page, and it'll give people the opportunity to subscribe to the info list.
So now it looks like that's already been rolled out.
Yeah, I rolled out those because they were pretty low impact. It was styling, so that was something that we wanted to roll out. And then the quick access, just the styling issue, that's been rolled out too. What has not been rolled out is VLab News on the left-hand side. If you look at production, you'll see My Communities on the left. And so the thinking is that we should try to make the welcome page more of a dynamic page rather than static. And so by doing that, people, I think most people are probably going up to My Communities dropdown. So John, if you could scroll up a little bit, please.
Hold on. Oh, I got to go to
Thank you.
There we go. Get my cursor back. All right.
Sure. So yeah, the My Communities dropdown is how you're going to get to. That's the easiest way of getting to the communities that you're a member of. And if you like the My Communities portlet, you would click on the Communities tab, which is the third one over there. This is in dev. In production, science sharing has actually been moved under NWS. So this is a little bit different, but if you click on communities, that'll take you to the page, and we've actually allocated 70% of the screen to the My Communities portlet, which actually works much better with that amount of space. So, so anyway, so I guess what we're looking for feedback on is removal of My Communities and placing VLab News on the front left, and then.
Perfect.
Yeah, and it would be a goal for us to be keep more on top of promoting and adding more news, because we're not necessarily always good about that. So a lot's going on. For example, all of the EMC projects, all but a few, 130 or something like that, have been migrated to VLab now. That's pretty big news. So anyway, okay. So that's that. In terms of the DXP migration, which I briefed last time we met, that's moving forward. We've been, waiting on some issues to move forward through NCO so that we could advance. That we're getting some traction there. So we're basically trying to get the DXP instance set up in our common development environment so that more of our team can participate and do testing. And so, and I'm meeting with our look and feel expert tomorrow to talk more about the theme, and we need to get the theme ironed out so that we can get that out in front of a wider audience, so to give people a precursor of what's coming, the sorts of changes, and what benefits you're going to see. So, so anyway, that's that. And I think I keep going through these issues. The single sign-on, as I mentioned, that's all done with the exception of Jenkins, and Jenkins is a very low use. It's used by very few people, so that's so we may want to consider, I guess, switching down. I don't know if we would do that or not, or how we want to handle it, but anyway, I have no plans to do Jenkins in the short term because of the low usage in terms of single sign-on. The others, add a field to identify communities by line office. That we talked about last time, and I need to get back to that too, and that is we have the field already available. There's a line office field. It's being populated from LDAP. So we just need to figure out how best to present that so that people see that information. And then the preview as a user in the owner settings, we know that's important. That's waiting for DXP, so we have the resources to work on that. And then personal pages, I think I've mentioned that's going to be rolled out as part of the DXP upgrade. And DDLs, that's coming with DXP. The sorting, filtering, organization of dynamic data lists, that there's been a change that's been submitted, and I need to get a little bit of our developers' time to address a couple issues that I found in testing. So I will write that on my short list. So that's item 10.461. And I think I'm going to leave it at that for right now, unless there are specific questions on any of the other issues on the list.
No, Ken, I think that's good for now. Maybe next time on the 12th, we could just take a quick spin through the things that have been ranked, some of the higher priority ones, and see what the status is. So, but that's fine for now.
Okay.
So with that, I'll pass it over to Steve.
Yeah, I don't have much either. Next week at the STI annual meeting in College Park, we'll be giving, there'll be a 45-minute session on VLab as part of the agenda. So Ken and I will be talking about some VLab stuff to the general ST&I community, which is the part of weather service focused on new R2O basically. There'll be a VLab demo set up on the floor for that event as well. I mentioned that in Silver Spring in January in the Silver Spring NOAA campus, we're going to begin some informal Q&A sessions on VLab for people on site. John Chattel is setting those up, and so the idea there is to provide a setting where people who are either current VLab users on the NOAA campus or curious about VLab in any way can come and get their questions answered. We've been doing these at the Skaggs building in Boulder, and we're also going to be doing them at the National Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma, also in the new year. So the other opportunities for people to learn about VLab. Also to mention that I'll be giving a talk at AMS, kind of a similar VLab update at the R2O conference in January in Austin. Ken Sparrow and Jason Burks are going to be giving a VLab talk of sorts, I think, as well at, I forget what that conference is that they're going to be at. Other than that, yeah, Ken mentioned the big, I guess the big thing is the completion or near completion of the migration of the EMC subversion repositories to VLab Git repositories. That is a huge boulder in our parlance of what we do in VLab. Major effort and a lot of hard work on the side of EMC and our staff to make that happen. So that's a really big R2O path that's now fully integrated into VLab and using that as a resource for managing code, modeling codes, ocean and weather and climate codes. Well, I'm not sure about climate modeling codes, but certainly the weather modeling codes and the ocean modeling codes. The National Water Center, the hydro codes are already in VLab anyway. So that was a big accomplishment. And that's really, we project that's going to increase usage. It already is, but as the EMC modelers continue to come up to speed with doing their coding using those repos, then we expect to see even more usage on the Redmine side. And thanks to Kate Howard in any way that she's helped with that because it is a significant milestone and it's happened incredibly fast, and we're very happy about that. So that's about it, Brian. Did we lose Brian?
Nope, trying to unmute myself. Thanks. So have you done those Q&A sessions before, or is this a new thing?
What was the question?
Have you done the Q&A sessions before, or is this a new thing?
We haven't done them in Silver Spring. Tom Filiaggi has done, I think, done them in Boulder for about 4 months now. But they're new to Silver Spring, and we're doing them. There's a new, they call it Collaboration Center in Building 3 on the NOAA campus here. We're going to use that facility, and they'll be advertised on a campus-wide email. Excuse me. And so we'll see how that goes.
Okay, perfect. And at the STI meeting, will you sort of summarize a little bit about what the VIT's been up to over the past year and the strategic planning team? And talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
That's going to be part of your presentation. Perfect.
Yep, that'll be part of it.
All right. Perfect.
Perfect, I don't know. Good enough, probably.
No? Yeah. That's really good. All right. What do we got? Thanks for doing that. John, can we quickly just say that we have the issues to rank, and you added in another issue that we had missed,
Right.
39771. So maybe put out the call again and ranking for the next meeting to be completed. And we can follow up with the people who haven't ranked in the meantime and try to get them to do so specifically if they haven't. So a general call and following up with those specific ones.
Right. Will do.
Okay. Then I'll give you, John, the opportunity to talk a little bit about the survey. If you could do so quickly. I wasn't sure what you were going to say, but you've got a couple of slides. You have 13 slides.
Yep.
Maybe you go over the highlights and then maybe send out the survey as well to us.
Yes, I will certainly.
Or send out your presentation. Yeah, thanks.
Right. Okay. So just by way of introduction, let me mention that this year, 2017 pseudo survey was a follow-on to the 2016 pseudo survey, and we used two different approaches between the 2 years, so it's worth mentioning that. Last year in 2016, we cold called every Sioux that we could get a hold of in the CONUS, and then asked them a series of questions. This year, we created a survey and then let all the Siouxs and Does across the country, both CONUS and OCONUS, know about the opportunity. And so it was sort of, voluntary, as it were. So last year we did it by going out and talking to them individually, and then this year we just let them fill out a survey. So you can see this last year we had 90 respondents that we touched base with in the CONUS by phone, and then this year we were down, because it was a voluntary survey, to 51 respondents, but we were also capturing some input from outside the CONUS area as well. And so you can see we generally went down, and that's fine. We got a pretty good response, really, when you think about it for a survey, so we were quite pleased about that. Let me go ahead and put this in full screen. There we go. Before I do that, let me see if I can bring up the survey. So just so you get to see what the survey is and a quick overview of the questions that we'll be going over. We had, of course, it's done through the VLab, yay. We asked for their office ID, what region they were in. Then we asked how frequently they used the VLab. So we were looking for, they used it frequently as in daily, occasionally as in weekly, rarely as in monthly, and then never. We then asked for their input on were they, how were they actually using it? So this gave a sense of whether they were doing software development or if they were doing more collaboration kinds of things. Then we asked them about whether they knew about the pseudo dashboard. We asked them for any comments they had on that. We asked them about the VIT. Did they know who their representative was? And we tried to get a sense of whether or not, if they didn't know who their VIT rep was, did they at least know what the VIT was? So we'll be seeing results for that shortly. And then we asked for some success stories and any ideas they might have for improving the VLab. So that was the survey. And now we can go to the results. So this is looking at, did they use the VLab? And you can see that from, of course, in 2017, all the respondents used it. And so that's a good news story. We were up from 90 in the in the 80s and 90s to 100%. But there is this year we didn't get a full look at all the Sioux, so there may have been some Sioux who didn't use it that we just didn't hear from because they had to fill out the survey. But nonetheless, it's good news that we do see people using the VLab. And this is sort of a look at how frequently they use it. So good is when we don't see any blue. So if you notice from 2016 to 2017, there's no blue, and blue is never use it. So that's good news. We'd also expect to see, or hope to see, a decrease in the, we'll call it maroon color between 2016 and 2017. And that is the case where we have data. So for example, let's look at Eastern region. They went from 40% rarely to 17% rarely. And you would also hope to see an increase in the green. So if you compare Eastern to the 2016 to Eastern 2017, you see there's an increase. And then you'd also want to see an increase in the purple. And so just visually inspecting from this 2016 to 2017, you see we have an increase. So we're moving in the right direction in terms of frequency of usage, and that's good news. Here's another quick way of looking at it based on never, rarely, occasionally, and frequently. And again, you want to see fewer of the blues. So this is the 2017 in the red, and you can see there are none, so that's good. Here you want to see a decrease from blue to red, and that's what we have because this is rarely. And then in occasionally and frequently, we hope to see an increase in red, and so you can see that just by inspection, we have an increase in red as well. So good news all around, and we're happy about that. Just to give you some sense of how much success stories we saw, you can see this, for example, in the case of Eastern region, there was like 58% of the respondents provide us a success story in 2017. So that's up from 30% in 2016. And generally there were fewer success stories, but I think this is because when you call somebody and you say, do you have any success stories, they have a much more, a better opportunity to give you that feedback than if you just say, please enter any success stories you have in this block. So I think may not be representative, but it's still good that we are hearing about success stories. This is the pseudo dashboard. Back in 2016, you can see that in the blue, there were fewer people who were aware of it, and now we've got much better awareness across the Sioux community. So that's very good. We're happy to see that. Here's a list of success stories, which we're not going to go through. Also, a number of suggestions were captured in this survey, and we've used those suggestions to create VIT issues, which many of you are working through the system as we speak. And so I'm not going to go through them either, but you're welcome to read them if you care to when I send out the link to the survey. This is the VIT representative. So do you know who your VIT representative is? And so red is bad, blue is better. And you can see we've got some room for improvement here. We've got quite a bit of red on the screen and not as much blue. So if you can look generally, I guess some of the folks who know most are some of the regions that we have the most work to do are, say, southern and perhaps western, and then outside in the Oconus areas as well. So in terms of they at least know what the VIT is. Again, blue is good, and you can see in some places we've got very good recognition, say Eastern region. All the Sioux that responded in 2017 were aware of what the VIT was, so that's good news. But again, any effort we can make to continue to socialize the VIT and make sure folks know what we do is probably a good thing. And that's it. Any questions?
No, I thought it was good, John. I think it's going to be good to share the results. You can see some interesting things. I was kind of surprised that only 50%, that 100% knew of the VIT, but only 50% in Eastern region, but only 50% knew who I was. So that was kind of interesting finding. But so there's some things I think that everybody can take away from that on the VIT and just in general that could help both the VIT and the strategic planning team. So I have to drop off. I think we'll save the new action item review and open forum again until next time. In terms of open action items, John, I think the only one that we talked about was really focusing on the December 12th meeting, possibly canceling the later December meeting and the early January meeting, and reconvening in later January, but focusing on the early December meeting and getting out the word on that and seeing if as many people can attend as possible.
Okay, we'll get that into the minutes.
And the ranking and sending out the rankings again.
Right. Yep. I've got those 3 items.
Perfect. I apologize for having to drop off, and David had jury duty today. Things like this happen. So we will continue with progress, and be interested to hear from Steve what you hear at the STI meeting next week in terms of how the SSD chiefs think about and the STI folks think about how the bit is doing and how VLab is doing in general. So.
Will do.
Okay. All right. With that, John, I call the meeting to a close.
All right. Thanks for everyone for showing up. Appreciate your input. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.